What if I told you that after Japan 2026 there is already a driver who has found something that the rest fear? Because his car is not only fast, but it is designed exactly how he needs to dominate. Nico Rosberg has sent a message that has shaken the entire Formula One. And the most worrying thing is not Ferrari, it is not the performance. It is that this car has the DNA of Lewis Hamilton. After the first races of the 2026 season, with the key passage through Japan marking a first turning point in the championship, there is a feeling that is beginning to be repeated within the paddock and that can no longer be ignored. Ferrari has not only improved, Ferrari has changed the rules of the game. But the most disturbing thing of all is not the performance itself, but the way in which that performance is arriving. It is not a superiority based solely on top speed or a specific strategy, it is something much deeper, more structural, more dangerous in the long term. And this is where the figure of Nico Rosberg appears, someone who does not just talk, someone who has experienced from the inside what it means to face the best version of Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg, after analyzing what he saw at the start of the season, especially after Japan, has sent out a message that has set off all the alarms. This Ferrari SF26 has Hamilton's DNA. And this statement is not a flashy phrase to generate headlines, it is a direct warning based on what it has detected in the car's behavior. Because what Ferrari is showing is not normal for this point in the year. We are seeing a car that from the first races presents unusual stability, a consistency that does not usually appear until much more advanced phases of development, and a tire management capacity that is making clear differences in the long run. This is where the real problem begins for the rest of the teams. Because when a car allows a driver to enter a state of total control, when it does not require constant corrections, when it responds exactly to what the driver wants to do in each phase of the curve, something is generated that in Formula One is extremely difficult to combat. The perfect connection between driver and machine. Rosberg recognizes it immediately because he himself suffered from it for years. He knows that when Hamilton reaches that level of synchrony, his performance stops depending on external factors and begins to build an advantage that becomes progressively unsustainable for his rivals. And the most shocking thing is that this is happening from the beginning. We are not seeing a Hamilton in the process of adaptation as happened in 2025, where he had to deal with a car that was not designed for him and that forced him to constantly leave his comfort zone. Now it is exactly the opposite. The SF26 has been developed with his direct influence over months, incorporating his preferences, his way of managing braking, his need for stability in the rear axle and his driving style based on precision and confidence. This completely changes the competitive landscape because Hamilton is no longer chasing the car. The car is built to power him from the get-go. After Japan, what could once have been indications now begin to become evidence. The way in which Hamilton manages the races, the consistency of his times, the absence of errors and, above all, the feeling of absolute control that he conveys on the track, are reminiscent of his most dominant stages. And that is exactly what Rosberg wanted to point out. It is not just that Ferrari is fast, it is that they have created the perfect environment for Hamilton to return to that level where he not only competes, but begins to dominate. But if there is something that really makes this story a real threat for the entire grid, it is not only what we see on the track, but what is behind the SF26. Because when you analyze in depth how this car has been built, you understand that it is not a simple evolution, it is a complete change of philosophy within Ferrari. And this is where the concept of Hamilton DNA stops being a shocking phrase and becomes a technical reality that explains absolutely everything we are seeing. During 2025, one of Hamilton's biggest problems was that he never managed to feel completely comfortable with the car. He had to constantly adapt his style, modify his way of braking, adjust his corner entry, and ultimately leave his natural driving zone to try to extract performance. This generated inconsistencies, forced errors, and above all, a lack of confidence that prevented him from reaching his maximum level. But in 2026, that scenario has completely disappeared. Now we are seeing just the opposite. A car that has been molded around your needs, your sensations, and your way of understanding driving. The key point is how Ferrari has interpreted those needs. They have not limited themselves to making the car faster. They have sought to make it more drivable, more predictable, more stable in critical situations. Rear stability under braking, for example, has become one of the great strengths of the SF26, eliminating that nervous behavior that punished Hamilton so much in the past. This allows you to attack corners with much more confidence, brake later, and maintain a clean line without the need for constant corrections. And when a driver can do that lap after lap without mental wear and tear, he begins to build a consistency that is devastating in the race. Added to this is another factor that Rosberg has also indirectly pointed out: tire management. The SF26 is not only fast, it is kind to the tires, reduces degradation and maintains performance for longer. This opens up a huge strategic range for Ferrari because they can lengthen stints, play with different stopping windows, and above all, put pressure on their rivals at times when others begin to lose performance. But the most important thing is that this characteristic fits perfectly with the style of Hamilton, who has historically been one of the best drivers in taking care of tires and exploiting that factor in the race. And this is where everything starts to come together in a dangerous way. It's not just the car, it's not just the driver, it's the perfect combination between the two. Because when you have a car that responds exactly to what you need and you also have the experience, intelligence, and execution capacity of Hamilton, the result is a synergy that multiplies performance. Rosberg knows it, he has lived it, and that is why his message is not a simple opinion, it is a warning based on real experience. After Japan, this connection is no longer a theory, it is evidence that begins to be reflected in each session, in each long run, and in each strategic decision. And the most worrying thing for the rest of the teams is that these types of advantages do not disappear easily. It's not something you can copy from race to race because it's not just about aerodynamics or power, it's about how the car is built from the ground up, how it responds to a specific driving style. Therefore, what we are seeing at the beginning of 2026 may be the beginning of something much bigger. Because when a car is born with these characteristics and a driver like Hamilton understands it from the first moment, the evolution throughout the season only amplifies that advantage. And that's where the real fear begins within the paddock. Because everyone knows how this story ends when Hamilton has exactly what he needs. And this is where everything stops being a simple analysis and becomes a serious warning for the rest of Formula One. Because what Nico Rosberg has detected is not only a specific advantage for Ferrari at the beginning of 2026. It is the birth of a scenario that we have already seen before, and that historically has ended in only one way. When Hamilton enters that state where everything fits together, where the car responds exactly to what he needs and where there is no friction between driver and machine, the room for improvement skyrockets and the competition begins to fall behind without realizing it. After Japan, the feeling is clear. Hamilton is not pushing the car to the limit, he is growing with it. And this is the most dangerous of all. Because while other teams are still understanding their weaknesses, correcting balance problems, or trying to find the optimal performance window, Ferrari already has a solid, stable base and perfectly aligned with its driver. That means that each evolution that arrives will not be to solve problems, but to further enhance a structure that already works. This is where the psychological factor comes in, one of the most underrated but most decisive elements in a long season. When a driver feels that he has total control, when he knows that the car is not going to fail him in critical moments, he begins to make decisions with a confidence that others cannot match. And Hamilton, in that context, is probably the most dangerous driver on the entire grid. Because he not only executes, but anticipates, manages and dominates each phase of the race with a precision that mentally exhausts his rivals. Rosberg knows this better than anyone because he already experienced that situation from the other side of the garage. He knows that when Hamilton reaches that level, you don't need to make mistakes to lose, you just can't keep up with him throughout the championship. And that is exactly what is beginning to be perceived after these first races. It is not a question of whether Ferrari can win, it is a question of how long it will take them to make a difference that is impossible to close. Additionally, there is a key detail that many are overlooking. These types of cars, those that are born well from the beginning and are aligned with their driver, tend to evolve better during the season. Because each improvement is integrated naturally, without breaking the balance of the whole. And that means that if right now they are already generating this feeling of control and superiority, what may come in the next races could expand that advantage even further. Therefore, Rosberg's message is not simply striking. It is almost a prediction. The SF26 is not just a competitive car, it is a platform designed to return Hamilton to its most dominant version. And if that is confirmed in the upcoming races, what we are seeing now could be just the beginning of something much bigger. Because in Formula One there is an unwritten rule that everyone knows. When Hamilton has the right car, the championship stops being a battle and starts becoming a countdown. What Nico Rosberg has made clear after the first races of 2026, especially after Japan, is not simply another opinion within the paddock. It is a warning sign that many are already beginning to take very seriously. Because when someone who has competed directly against Lewis Hamilton identifies that pattern, that special connection between driver and car, he is not speculating. He is recognizing something that he has seen before and knows exactly how it ends. The Ferrari SF26 was not only born competitive, it was born with a very clear identity, an identity that fits perfectly with Hamilton's style, needs and way of understanding driving. And that's the difference an entire season can make. We are not just talking about performance, we are talking about confidence, consistency, and a synchronization that allows the pilot to operate at the highest level without limitations. After Japan, it is no longer about promises or expectations, it is about what we are seeing on the track. A solid, precise, and increasingly comfortable Hamilton, building a foundation from very early on that can be decisive throughout the championship. And the most worrying thing for its rivals is that this does not seem like a peak in performance. It seems like the beginning of a trend. Because if the history of Formula One has shown anything, it is that when Hamilton has the right car, he doesn't need many opportunities to make a difference. And right now, everything indicates that Ferrari has given him exactly that, a car with his DNA. The big question is no longer if he can fight for the championship. The real question is if anyone will be able to stop what has just started. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.